They found the bodies already dead, right at the edge of their camp. Suspiciously close, I might add.
You accuse us of planting the bodies of our own murdered kin? Bodies your loggers were caught burying in shallow graves.
You know very well.
We are a weekend from the release of Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about it. Developers have released an update saying what their future plans are on the roadmap for updates for this game, which makes me very happy and makes me want to talk about this now. Initially, I was going to release this video earlier, and it was going to miss this vital information. So I'm glad I waited to see what their response was going to be to the community, because the community was not very happy with this game when it launched, and I was a little bit dumbfounded when it launched. So if you don't know what this game is, it's a VR. It was originally a VR game, and then they've done pancake version, and now they've done like this D&D version of it with actual D&D characters and monsters and stuff, which I think is very cool, and locations like Neverwinter and things like that. So this was more interesting to me than the original Demeo because it was its own custom world. While this doesn't play like D&D at all, like 5th edition or anything, it's not that complicated. It's meant to be pick up and play, so it's nothing like the actual board game. But the way the dioramas are and the way you move the miniatures around the dioramas, I think it's a really cute, cozy looking game to look, and the story has actually been quite interesting so far. So far it's been a great ride, but there was some head scratches in there for sure. But before we go any further, I just want to say this was all recorded off of my MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. So it's all handheld footage. And so if you're thinking about picking this up for Steam Deck or the MSI Claw or any of the other PC handhelds, you'll have no problem. It's going to run at 60 FPS depending on what wattage you put it at. But you can't really go wrong. That's definitely a non-starter issue, is about power out, wattage, or graphical settings, any of that. Because it's such a static game, none of that really matters, and it's turn-based on top of that. So you can just play this game and enjoy it as is, and you don't have to worry about any of those nuances of getting the best performance. But anyway, let's start talking about what Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons is, and why this update that they've announced roadmap is going to be good. Let's crack into it. So this game can be played solo or cooperatively. Now, the reason that the community was up in arms is the solo player mode of this, which is what I played. I'm not going to be playing this with friends. It's hard enough to get people to buy the same, 4 people to buy the same game. It's, especially at my age, people just don't have the time, and don't want to commit to a game. It's like $50, right, in New Zealand dollars, and maybe play it like twice. So it was always going to be a solo game for me, and so I jumped into the solo mode. Now, what threw me for a loop is when you create your hero, you give him a name, you can pick one of the 8 classes that's available, 6 classes that are available, and then you pick 3 other hirelings. And I was like, oh, okay, so these are going to be your companions. They'll level up, and they'll, get items and gear as well as you do. No, they stay at level 1. They don't level up. They don't do anything. You can't even swap them out in the tavern. Like, you're stuck with the 3 companions you pick are who you're stuck with for that campaign run. Only your character levels up and gets new items like swords and armor, and you can pick your secondary stats and get bonuses and all that. So, and as I was playing, I was very confused because I was like, I can't change out these companions. They don't level up, and it's kind of weird. And technically, they don't need to level up for you to play through it. But it feels a bit strange to play a D&D game where 3 of your companions don't level up or gain loot. I feel like a very big oversight, and so that is why I waited on this preview, because I've put about 15 hours in, and I really enjoyed it. But on my first playthrough, I picked the Paladin, I like Paladins, and then I picked the Ranger, the Bard, and what was the 4th one? Bard, Ranger, Paladin, and one of the other classes. and I was struggling on the first dungeon because it's a multi-level dungeon. So each level, there's 3 levels to it. There's the first level, the second level, and then the boss level. And the way that they structure dungeons is you have to find the monster on that dungeon level that's got the key to unlock the next level. And do that twice, and then you go down to the boss level where you fight, spoilers, you fight a spore, you know, like myconoid boss thing. And I couldn't get past, it was way too hard. I was really struggling, and so it kind of like killed my support for the game. Anyway, long story short, I was like, fuck it, and I started a new game playing as a warrior, and then I took 3 hirelings, which was the paladin, the ranger, and the sorcerer. And now this combo of 4 characters works really well, and on my first attempt through the dungeon, I completed it, and I was like, wow, I tried 3 times with my other party and failed miserably. And it's not like you just redo that level, like that level of the dungeon. You get booted back to the main screen, like the main world map, and then you've got to go re-enter it again. You do keep your XP, I'm pretty sure, on your main character. So you are gaining like progression even though you failed, but it's a lot more work. It's, you know, it's half an hour, 45 minutes of working your way through this massive dungeon just to have to fail and start again. So if you do plan on picking it up, the warrior, paladin, sorcerer, ranger has worked for me, so it might work for you too if you're struggling like I was on that first dungeon. And so I was like, this is so weird. But now they've announced officially their first major patch will be introducing leveling and progression for your hirelings. So I'm very grateful for that. And that's going to make the game 10 times better for solo players like me. Because they've got loot for all these characters because they can all be the hero classes. So they all have weapons to pick from, primary and secondary stats to pick from. And so now that that's going to get implemented into solo play, I think it's going to be a lot more fun. So I'm really happy about that. So there will be a follow-up video once they release that patch because I want to know how comprehensive that is. And if it does make a difference to running through a campaign. So the other thing to talk about is in this release, there's only 2 campaigns at launch. And then what they do is once you finish a dungeon, like I finished the first major dungeon for the first campaign, that then unlocks as a standalone dungeon that you can play with friends without having to play through the whole campaign. So you can just do dungeon runs basically. So because I haven't finished the game, I don't know how much longevity you're going to get out of this as a solo player or even a co-op player, like how many hours of content you're going to get from these 2 campaigns. Like I say, I haven't even touched the second campaign yet, and I don't know how long this... I finished the first act, I'm pretty sure. Like the first dungeon is the first act, I'm assuming, and now the story is following up. And I must admit, between the narrator and the characters, I think the dialogue is actually quite good. The story is quite interesting. You're following the Neverwinter and the elves in the Neverwinter forest, and there's something going on between them, and you're trying to work out who's causing this escalation of tensions. I don't want to give too much away here, and so you're going around trying to figure out what's happening. Let's be very clear here, you're not playing proper D&D. This is a very stripped down, fun to play game. You're not sitting down to play 5th edition D&D. I want to make that very clear now. So you have, each character gets 2 action points on their turn. So that can be, you can do a move and attack as a single action, and then you could do another attack, or you could use one of your cards. So that's the other part of this is all your characters can do a basic melee attack, but usually different classes have different skill cards that they always have every turn. And there's also cards that are one use, and then they go into your discard pile and you draw more throughout your mission. While you're fighting, you gain basically energy, and once that bar fills up, everyone gets a card. And you can also find cards and chests throughout missions in the dungeons and so on and so forth. And so you have one-off cards, and then you have about 3 or 4 cards that refresh every round, or it might take 2 rounds to refresh depending on how strong the ability is. So you could do 2. So for a good example would be the Ranger. She gets a dash and she gets 2 arrow cards, and they don't ever go into your discard pile. They just get used and then they refresh on her next turn. And so the dash card that she gets is a 0 action card, so she can always dash every turn and it costs her no action points. And then so she could do an action to dash to get in line of sight, and then you'd use your arrow cards and fire twice, and that would take an action each. And then to roll to hit, there is no rolling to hit per se. You roll a d20, but it's either going to have a damage, a critical, or a miss. That's it. And then during missions, you'll come across things where you have to make con saves or strength checks and things like that, where you do roll a d20 and you have to, pass the DC.
You run swiftly past the bears, leaving them to blink away.
I find, maybe it's just me, I feel like my characters miss way more, and so misses aren't just a straight up miss. Your character will spin in a random direction and attack in that direction, which can also sometimes mean you hit allies or you'll hit a different enemy. So it's a real 50-50 when you get a miss. You don't know whether you're going to hurt yourself, hurt someone else in your party, or hurt another enemy. And ranged attacks, usually like magic ones, will just fail, or sometimes they'll buff the enemy, because I found with the bard you'd use, like, instead of doing the words ability, to hurt them, you'd end up healing them or something like that, and you're like, god damn it. And other things like potions that are one-off cards will cost 0 action points, so you could heal and then still do your actions basically. So that's the basic rundown. After playing for 15 hours, nothing's really changed a lot since then. So I'm assuming that's just how play is. But you will unlock more cards, and when you level up, you can buy different kind of ability upgrades for your character. For example, you could, if you've got Constitution as your secondary, you could go for +3 health, or you could get a new card that could go into your pile. So, yeah, there's a lot here, but it is very simplified D&D. I think this is a really well-made game. It's just been let down by not having this single-player focus at launch, and I realise D&D is meant to be played with a group, and that's what the intentions were of the developers. But for a lot of us, we just do not have 3 other people we can jump on and play with. So I'm happy that they've taken that on board, and that they're going to fix the side characters or your companions and make them actually level up and get gear and loot and all the rest of it. I think that will make a huge difference for the longevity of this game, of coming back and playing it. The idea is if they come out every few months with a new campaign to play through, and you can load up your characters and play through another campaign, I think that'll be awesome. And, Baldur's Gate 3, I love that game. I freaking love it. But that is a big 100-hour plus RPG where you could play through this. Like, if they drop a new campaign and it's 5 hours, well, that's great. You just can play through it, try some different classes, and then move, and then uninstall it and come back to it again in another 3 months or 6 months, whenever they release the next lot of campaigns. So that's my preview. If you're going to play cooperatively, you can probably jump in now and have a good time. If you're a solo player, just wait until they release this big update that fixes companions, and when they do, I will let you know. But anyway, what do you think about this game? Are you going to pick it up? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Oh, no, you don't. Do your part, adventurers. I will have this one's head.
It's not over.